Meeting of the Eau Claire County Board on this Tuesday, May the 18th. First item on our agenda is honoring of the flag, followed by a moment of reflection by Supervisor Nancy Coffey. So supervisors together, please unmute. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the
flag
of the United
States of America
and to the
and
republic
to the republic
for which it stands,
stands
one nation,
one nation
under God,
God,
indivisible,
with
liberty and
justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor Coffey.
Thank you. We have cause for celebration. In Eau Claire County last week, we had an average of only 4 daily new cases of COVID-19. No new deaths were reported this week. Our 7-day positivity rate has been at 2.7% for nearly 3 months, which is at or below our goal of 5% or less. The CDC now says if we are fully vaccinated, we can ditch that mask and staying 6 feet apart, except where required by federal, state, local, tribal, or territorial laws, rules, regulations, including local business and workplace guidance. There are still some concerns, though. Currently, about 50% of Eau Claire County residents have 1 dose, and a little over 40% have had the full COVID series. We aren't at 70 or 80% herd immunity, so we still have to work to make sure we can keep our businesses 100% open and our schools fully open in the fall. No one wants to go back to the isolation we faced. Whether we vote to change the Eau Claire County mask mandate or not, we need to encourage all that are physically able to get their COVID vaccination as soon as possible. Let's all do our part to get back to normal and keep up our celebration. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk McDonald, will you please call the roll?
All right. Gibson,
Present.
McKinney,
Present.
Knight. I believe I saw Joe. Joe's there.
I think he's muted. Whoops. Maybe his video isn't working. It's churning.
All right, we'll go on. Stella,
Here.
Anton, Earl Anton, Zook,
Here.
Chilson, Stelgis.
Just so you know, Steve has been trying to get on. He might be having trouble.
Okay,
Delgis is here.
thank you. Mowry,
Here.
Coffee,
Here.
Henning. Was that a yes? I didn't hear. I think right. He is here. Okay. Bates,
Here.
Russell,
Here.
Gatlin,
Present.
Smyer,
Here.
Hambuck Boyle,
Here.
Neiman,
Here.
Dunning, Wilkie,
Here.
Anderson,
Present.
Beckfield, Schneider,
Here.
Leary,
Here.
DeLuca,
Here.
Jansen,
Here.
Schroffnagel,
Here.
Roberts,
Here.
Kronk, Kronk, and Christopherson. All right,
Clerk,
so,
please go back over the ones that didn't.
sure. Okay, Carl Anton, Steve Chilson. So Steve maybe was trying to get on, but didn't. We'll count him not present for now. Ray Henning. I think he was trying to get on, Samantha said earlier, so we'll come back to him as well. Jim Dunning. Mark Beckfield. And Kimberly Kronk.
I'm
We
on
have
via
23
phone. Can you hear
present.
me?
Who, oh, Kimberly? Yes. Okay.
Yep, I'm trying to get on, but I'm on via phone currently.
Okay. I'll mark you
We
here.
hear you.
All right, so 24 present, 5 absent.
Thank you. We do have quorum. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is public comment. We have had a number of
Chair Snyder, I believe you need to approve the Journal of Proceedings first.
Oh, sorry. There, did it again. I'm cross-eyed. Okay, thank you.
Usually
There
we go
go.
through was the meeting noticed.
So,
What?
Was the meeting noticed?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Next item is approval of the Journal of Proceedings from April the 20th, 2021. Motion? Moved by Supervisor Bates. Second?
Second,
Aye.
Humbug Boyle.
Second by Hamburg Boyle. Thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the Journal of Proceedings? I hear none. We'll do this by voice vote. Please unmute. All those in favor of approval of the Journal of Proceedings of April 20th, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All those opposed by nay. It is unanimous. Thank you. Now we'll go on to public comment. I know that we've had a number of comments submitted in writing, but Clerk McDonald, I think we have one person who wishes to present verbally. Is that correct?
we actually had 11 people sign up to speak publicly, but we'll see how many are on the line. Samantha said it didn't look like there were that many on the line, so I guess we'll just go through the list
Go ahead.
one by one here. So, all right. Lynn Jenke, are you on the line?
Yes, this is Lynn Danke. Thank you so much for
Yeah, you
hearing
have
me tonight.
3 minutes to speak, and I'll give you a 30-second warning at the end.
Thank you so much. Eau Claire County Board members, I'm speaking in favor of lifting the mask mandate. You assured us that you would follow the science and recommendations given by the CDC for future decision-making when you put the mask mandate in place. You worked in tandem with the Eau Claire City Council, and I have an expectation that you'll do so again tonight. In light of the earlier comments about strongly encouraging everyone to get the vaccine, I would like to bring to your attention the fact that OSHA today put out a question and answer and said, if I require my employees to take the COVID-19 vaccine as a condition of their employment, are adverse reactions to the vaccine recordable? And the answer to that question is, if you require your employees to be vaccinated as a condition of employment, then any adverse reaction to the COVID-19 vaccine is work-related. The adverse reaction is recordable if it is a new case under 29 CFR 1904.6 and meets one or more of the general recording criteria in 29 CFR 1904.7. So I just want to have that out there on the record that while you are strongly encouraging people to vaccinate, it is still their choice. We still live in America, and OSHA really went out on a limb to protect the workers from being violated and made to choose to take something or not have a job. Getting back to my comments about the mask mandate, WAU on May 16th, 2021 ran the story that the CDC director says the mask mandate turnaround was based solely on science. The Eau Claire City Council voted unanimously today to lift the mask mandate. So based on these last two pieces of information, there is no reason why this vote to lift the mask mandate should not be unanimous by the Eau Claire County board members and go into effect immediately. Thank you so much for your time and this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Next up is BJ Gooderin. I'm sorry about the last name. I can't pronounce. BJ, are you on the line? BJ? All right. How about Brandon Rice? Brandon Rice? Shar Hanula? Shar, are you on the line?
Yes, I
Are
have.
you?
But that'd be interesting. I'd sure shake things up for our stories tonight.
Is this Shar? Nope. All right. How about Adam Lamprey? Adam Lamprey? Dan Sidladaco? Dan?
Hi, this is Dr. Dan Salako.
Okay. Go ahead, Dan.
Everybody's in favor. Okay, so I'm a resident of Eau Claire County. I have two businesses in Eau Claire. And I'll keep this short because I've submitted information on the mask studies in the past. And we know that states like South Dakota has much less death rate than Wisconsin has. And when you compare the different studies together of who has started mask mandates and who hasn't, we can see that they stay just about the same. And some of the states are even better off when they're not using masks. Our case average in Eau Claire has been, I guess today, 7-day average is approximately 6. And I know our health department last year said that if we're at 10 or below, we'd be at normal. 19 states had no COVID deaths yesterday, including Wisconsin. Our CDC and our government officials have given us mixed messages on using masks. We were told to use a mask. We were told not to use a mask. We were told to use 2 masks. We were told not to use a mask outside. Then we were told to wear a mask if you didn't need a mask if you were vaccinated. But yet even our leaders like Biden and Fauci over the weekend were seen wearing masks even though they're vaccinated. So we've focused on this idea of masks and we've forgotten our idea of what do we need about health. We know that 78% of the people that have died from COVID were obese, and yet our health department has never focused on that. As a business owner in Eau Claire, I know of numerous people who go out of the county because they don't want to deal with this mask mandate. I myself have done that because I don't want to go to businesses where I have to wear a mask, especially in a restaurant where I have to wear a mask from the front door to my table, but I can eat for an hour without a mask. So it's time to repeal this particular mask ordinance. It's been an overreach by the city and the county, and I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. Next on the list is Nicole Everson. Nicole, are you on the line? Nicole? All right. Maggie Vinipal?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I'm outside, so I apologize if there's background noise. Good evening, County Board Supervisors, and thank you for the opportunity to address you. My comments are going to be strictly facts, and I would be happy to provide you with references if you need them after the meeting. Last fall, the county was given a goal from Ms. Giese of a 7-day case average of 10 cases per day or less. One would need to go back 75 days to March 4th to get to the very last day of a consistent run of a 10+ case per day average. That is 27 days before the statewide mask mandate was discontinued. So one could ask why the county needed this ordinance at all. Eau Claire County's current case per day average is 5.6 per the stat website today, well below the given goal. Eau Claire County reported zero cases yesterday and 4 cases today out of 104,000 plus people. Yesterday, Wisconsin reported 116 positive COVID-19 cases. That was the lowest since April 13th, 2020, 400 days ago. Let me rephrase that. 5,822,318 Wisconsinites did not test positive yesterday. There were only 4 other counties in the entire state that recently had a mask ordinance. Out of 72 counties, I'm sure you can understand the community's frustration with this. 2 of the 3 counties lifted their restrictions last week. We have all learned a lot this past year, many prevention strategies and treatments available, and now we have the shot available for those who want it. As of today, 47.2% of Eau Claire County have received at least 1 dose. More importantly, 84.5% of our most vulnerable population, 65 and over, have received it. They are now protected. On May 11th, in the U.S. Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions meeting, Senator Burr asked Dr. Fauci, Dr. Marks from the FDA, and Dr. Walensky, of the CDC director, what percentage of their own employees are vaccinated. Dr. Fauci and Dr. Marks responded, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's probably a little more than half. Dr. Walensky responded, we are encouraging our employees to get vaccinated, but as you understand, the federal government is not requiring it, so we do not know. If the NIH and the FDA are at 50 to 60%, and Eau Claire County is at 47.2, I would say that we are doing an excellent job. Because of these factual statements, I respectfully ask you to, 1, repeal the mask ordinance effective today by unanimous vote. 2, open your meetings back up to the public. 3, cease vaccination propaganda to the community, and most importantly, our children. Medical decisions should be made between a person and their medical doctor. 4, advise Eau Claire Area School District to make masks optional for our students and staff effective immediately. Thank you so much for your consideration and your time.
Thank you. Kayla Rick, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
All right, go ahead, Kayla.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking comments on this and for considering repealing the face covering requirement. I too, like the other callers, am in favor of you repealing this, and I hope that you unanimously vote for that to happen. I do have some cautions as I keep picking up on different themes of conversation, one being that it seems that this is being used as a way to try to coerce people into receiving an experimental medical practice. I hope to no longer hear that any longer. That is a personal decision, whether somebody chooses to take a medication or enroll in a clinical study. So I hope that that no longer is something that's talked about. And as Maggie pointed out, 84.5% of the population in Eau Claire, ages 65 and older, have chosen to go ahead and receive that medical procedure. Therefore, I think that our most vulnerable population is already protected, and the rest of us can be free to choose how we will remain healthy. Additionally, if you choose to continue to try to push this medical experiment on people, I'm wondering who would be willing to sign a liability waiver. Manufacturers are not held responsible for any damages, so I would like to see somebody willing to sign. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Caleb. Next up, we have Stacy Rush. Rush, are you on the line? Go ahead, Stacy.
Okay, I'm doing this from my phone and I've never done it before, so I apologize. I do want to thank the board members for your time and for having us provide input today. I am speaking today in favor of lifting the mask mandate in Eau Claire County for the following reasons. I'm sure you're all aware of the new guidance issued by the CDC for vaccinated individuals. I would like to state that the percentage of people that are fully vaccinated in the United States currently, as of the other day, is sitting at 37.6%. As of 4 days ago, the Eau Claire County total was 42.1% for fully vaccinated individuals. So I do feel like we are doing better than the general population in this country, which I think is amazing and extremely important. I would also like to note, in speaking about vaccinations, that I feel is really important. We need to mention in Eau Claire County, we have had a total number of cases. As of yesterday, it looks like it was 11,555 people. That tells me that, as someone who works in the medical community in the county, that those number of people are going to have some level of immunity to COVID-19 regardless of vaccination status. So I do feel like that needs to be taken into consideration as well when talking about the numbers. We've always been taught as medical professionals that any immunity that your body makes naturally is typically better than that from a vaccine. You know, how long the antibodies last is debatable right now. From the research that I've done, it looks like it's pretty good. But I said there's more research that needs to be done on that. So I just like to say, in light of the low level of the cases in Eau Claire County, I'm asking the board to lift the mandate today. I just would also like to say that, you know, COVID-19 is here to stay. We do have to live with this. I feel that with further education regarding the benefits of the vaccine in our community, we can get to a level where herd immunity can be reached fairly quickly. And I think that is the ultimate goal with any virus. So I would like to thank you all for your time once again.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to go back through the list again. You should be unmuted. If I had called your name earlier and you were unable to respond, you should be able to now. So I'll just go through who didn't respond the first time. BJ Gooderin, Brandon Rice, Shar Hanula, Adam Lamprey, and Nicole Everson.
Excuse me, I registered before. I would like to speak if that's okay.
Please go ahead.
What is your name?
My name is Allie Pickers. My address is East 3848 County Highway AA Joliva. And while I do live a little south of town, I work in Eau Claire, and I'm also a UW Eau Claire alum. So I spend pretty much every day there. I really wanted to speak tonight to ask you guys to repeal the mask mandate. It's concerning to me that even the $200 fine is still in discussion. And there are so many things I'd like to touch on, but focusing on the vaccine as well, I really do not want to see this be a mandatory thing. As a young woman, I have not had any kids yet. I really want to have kids, and I'm reading research about fertility problems and going into the healthcare field. Right now, I'm also a student at CVTC now, going into sonography, and there is a lot of pressure for a lot of people in the medical field to be getting these vaccinations. And I really don't want to see that when I'm graduated and ready to start in my career. And one other thing I'd like to touch on is just that you guys have been doing a good job, but in the beginning of this, there was no guidance. And My fiance and I were carpenters at the time, and everything shut down. I mean, we couldn't get someone from the city out to come and look at some of our electrical work. And there wasn't guidance for maybe a month, and everyone was lost. No one was sure what to do. But then all of a sudden, there were these emergency orders telling us all that we had to start doing these things. And just like that, people were scared and following governor's orders and county orders, and that makes sense. That's why we have you guys. But it just became all of a sudden you have to be wearing a mask everywhere, and it's scary what it's turned into, and that's really why I wanted to come forward and speak tonight. I really appreciate your guys' time. I have one person in my household tonight who would also like to speak, if that's okay.
No.
Okay. I think they said no. So no one else in my household can speak?
I'm so sorry, that was another person, Sue.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, awesome. My fiance is gonna speak now too, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, so it's gone on for a long time, and it's something I haven't had an opportunity to talk about, but I just want to say I feel like it's objectively immoral to dictate one's decision to manage their health. We are all in this together, and for that exact reason, all people have a right to will choose to protect themselves and otherwise. Deciding for a population they must comply is plainly wrong. It is contradictory to a free idea, and I pray we can grow to truly understand and portray that this free considered idea towards each other is our most valuable knowledge. So that's all I have to say on it, and good luck with your decision. I hope you make the right one.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. That's all that I had on my list for people who requested to speak tonight. So.
Is there anyone else online who wishes to speak?
No.
I don't hear anyone wishing to speak. Clerk McDonald? Is there anyone else?
Nope, nobody.
Okay, thank you. We'll now close the public comment section, and we will move on to the next items on our agenda. Reports to the county board under 2.04.320, beginning with the oral reports and the presentation by the scholarship committee. Clerk McDonald.
Okay. I'm the scholarship committee chair. We had kind of a challenging year last year with COVID. We weren't able to have as many sales, especially not any in-person sales like we used to raise funds. Some of the departments really came through though, and we did some online raffles for baskets, donated baskets, and we were able to raise enough to support or to present four $600 scholarships for the next school year. So scholarship program is open to children of permanent Eau Claire County employees. The applicants must have maintained at least a 3.0 grade point average and be enrolled in full-time, have a full-time status and meet all admission requirements for the school selected. So we have one applicant that was currently in college already. That is Samantha Lyons, was awarded a scholarship. She's the daughter of Glenda Lyons, the county treasurer. Samantha is currently attending UW La Crosse with a major in radiation therapy, and she's planning to graduate in 2024. We have 3 high school seniors who will be graduating from high school and starting their college careers. Mackenzie Colpian is the daughter of Curtis Colpian in the highway department. Mackenzie is a senior at Fall Creek High School, and she will be attending UW La Crosse with a major in exercise sports science, a minor in nutrition, and she hopes to join the physician's assistant program. Emily Meyer is the daughter of Tom Meyer in the Parks and Forest Department. Emily is a senior at Augusta High School, and she will be attending UW Eau Claire this fall with a major in education. Catherine Hayworth is the daughter of James Hayworth in the Sheriff's Department. Catherine is a senior at Memorial. She is planning on attending Northland College in the fall, where she will be studying outdoor education and sustainable community development. So I just want to congratulate all of these recipients of the award, and hopefully this year we'll be able to continue some fundraising for the scholarship committee. So
Supervisors, please unmute and provide a round of applause. Thank you, Clerk McDonald. The next report is a strategic plan refresher by Catherine Schaaf, our county administrator.
Thank you, Chair. And I will be brief. Samantha, if you could allow me to share my screen, please. Thank you. Earlier today, we sent our board members information from our website. We had a couple of links in there. One was to our strategic plan, and the other was to the second item that I'm going to be very briefly speaking to this evening, and that is the American Rescue Plan. Both of those links give access to the information that will be presented tonight, and you can also use those links to keep current with what is being posted on either one of those items. At the beginning of the year, the Committee on Administration reviewed the strategic plan. There were three main areas of work: stabilization of the county finances and operations, enhancement of our communities and our quality of life, equity, and diversity in citizens' lives. And we wanted to work on positioning the county in the area of economic development. Those are the key areas of work that were identified by the board. The link that you have actually takes you to a list of all of the detail from strategies through objectives of what is being completed within the strategic plan and what is being contemplated as well. This is a very brief summary of activity. As you'll recall, last month we did the annual report. One of the key areas for you as board members to be aware of what's happening with our strategic plan is to look at the annual reports. We actually have a section in there where each departmental area and each program area talks about the activities that met goals that were articulated as part of that strategic plan. And then in the budget process, we also have a portion of that that is dedicated toward our departmental areas and program areas, indicating how the resources they are being allocated will actually meet the goals of the strategic plan. And so very briefly in summary, what we began in 2020, the first year of our strategic plan, we worked on a communication strategy, and that included our website and social media. And that's why you're receiving those links tonight, using our website as a repository of information that is easy to access for board members and our citizens. We've established new public participation goals and are working on a citizen engagement plan so that we have continued interaction. And we're looking for an iterative platform that we can use so that we can educate the public, but then also hear from them with more ease. And part of that then that was also begun in 2020 was employee and board education on county government basics, and of course the work on broadband. And the broadband committee has been diligently working the Starlink project last week. Governor Evers joined us in the county to launch that project. The county has been listed as a broadband forward community, and so significant progress is being made in that area. In 2021, a couple of the things that are incorporated in our work plans and also our budget are the beginning of the Passenger Rail Commission as a key regional transportation initiative that will be beneficial to our economic development. Redistricting is part of 2021 as well, being moved more than likely to 2022. We are still awaiting action by the state on that. One of our focuses in 2021, although it is not directly linked to our strategic plan, of course, is that continued emergency operations and the reopening from COVID. And then the linking of our plans, our financial plan, our strategic plan, making sure that all of our plans and practice and process link. Our 2022 budget will continue this work in 2021. Some of the things that are just beginning now are sustainability, our equity, diversity, and inclusion coordinator began work this week and is doing her initial orientation with the city this week. She'll join us next week. Our finance team is working on reporting and internal controls, and we'll continue to look at those strategic objectives as part of our 2022 budget. And those strategic objectives that link to our strategic plan will also be articulated in the budget documents when you see them. And so this is just a quick refresher of where we're at with our strategic plan as we move from talking about 2020 in 2021 to 2022. The American Rescue Plan, which is the next item on the agenda, if I may, Chair Smyer.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Is still in the very early stages. We are still learning about what is allowed as far as expenditures within that plan. Some of the information that you were sent, again, via link, were documents that were worked through by the Committee on Administration, who is developing a plan so that the board can have input and reasoned discussion around how the county will use the American Rescue Plan dollars. We will use that website to post materials and keep the board and our community informed. And we'll let you know when we receive our first tranche and as we become more aware of what the parameters of the expenditures that are allowed under the American Rescue Plan. And that is all I have this evening, Chair Smyer.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding the presentation? Thank you, Administrator Schaaf. We'll move on now to written reports. You have in your packet the reports from the Finance Department, the 2021 Contingency Fund on page 7, and the April vouchers over $10,000 on pages 8 to 15. Are there any questions? Is there any discussion regarding the written reports? I hear none. Thank you. We will go on to presentation of petitions, claims, and communications. The first item is a notice of public listening session for the Communicable Disease Task Force, which is on page 16 of your packet. This listening session, the first one at least, will take place on Thursday, and you have the information there. We ask that you communicate this to everyone that you know so that we have as much public input on the task force. The purpose of the listening session is to take in public comment. It is not a dialogue, and it is a one-way conversation, if you will. Are there any questions about the listening session? I see no hands raised. I hear no voices. Okay. Next is an award, the Wisconsin Association of Local Health Departments and Boards 2021 Board of Health of the Year Award. I'm not sure who's presenting this.
Chair Smyer, I believe that we were not presenting it this evening. It was to alert the board of the award.
Okay, so we're acknowledging the receipt of the award then, hey? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. And certainly well-deserved in this past very busy COVID year. So I'm sure I speak on behalf of the whole board in congratulating the health department. Next are 4 rezoning requests. Before I go through them, I want to mention that at the request of a couple of supervisors, I'm going to ask that when Planning and Development reviews these and presents them, that the presenters give us a context, some education regarding the rezoning requests, because apparently, and I will include myself in this, some of us need to have a fuller understanding of what these requests are and how they fit into the process. So we have first a rezoning request from owners Lance and Katie Weir, Wayne and Carla Kostka, and applicant Peter Gartman for the town of Otter Creek, which will go forward to our next meeting. Rezoning request from owner Mary Hoffman and applicant Joseph, Gretchen, Joyce, and Mary Hoffman for the town of Lincoln, which will also go forward. Rezoning request from owner Donald Jackwish and applicant Terry C. Ripley for the town of Brunswick, also going forward. And finally, rezoning request from owner Laverne Stewart and applicant Craig Wurtzer for the town of Washington, which will go forward. Next on our agenda, first reading of ordinances by committees. First is file number 16 from the Committee on Administration, Supervisor Bates. Oh, I'm sorry. A motion, please.
Motion to approve Supervisor Wilkie.
Motion by Wilkie. I'm sorry, who's second? Who was the second?
Gatlin second.
Thank you. Second by Supervisor Gatlin. Explanation, Supervisor Bates.
Isn't this under suspension because it's not
Yeah, I
first
think we need to.
reading?
We're not to that
Yes.
point yet. Hold on to that, please.
Thank you. What you have in front of you this evening is an ordinance to repeal the mask requirement. You've had a lot of information given to you this evening, even in the remarks at the beginning of the meeting. You also are aware that the City Council passed a particular ordinance taking away the requirement. And now this comes before this body. I think that hopefully people will realize that this is an ordinance that if we were to have a difference between the city and the county, it could be extremely confusing for our citizens. I don't think there's any question that many of us believe that this has been a necessary requirement over the period of time it's been in place. And you've heard the statistics as to where we are at this point in time. So the ordinance is before you this evening to determine whether this body would indeed wish for this ordinance to continue or for the mask ordinance to go away. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This is a ordinance change. It requires 2 readings unless there's a motion to suspend the rules.
I would like to move to suspend the rules so we can take this item up this evening for a vote.
Thank you for clarifying that. Motion by Supervisor Leary. Is there a second to the motion?
Second, McKinney.
McKinney seconds. Thank you. Any further comment? Supervisors, I'm going to do this by a roll call vote because of the importance of it. And it requires a 2/3 vote, I believe. Is that correct, Corp Counsel?
That is correct.
Okay. So Clerk McDonald, will you call the roll vote, please?
All right. Gibson,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Pagonis,
Yes.
Anton, I believe wasn't here. Zook?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, you are
He's
here.
on the-
Good. Thank you. Okay. All right. And your vote, Carl?
I'm here. Yes.
Okay. All right. Zook?
Yes.
Chilson? Stelgis?
This here.
Maury?
Yes. Yeah.
Coffee?
Yes.
Henning? Did Ray get on the call? I'll check back. Bates?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Gatlin?
Yes.
Smyer?
Yes.
Hambuck Boyle?
Yes.
Neiman?
Yes.
Dunning,
Yes.
Wilkie,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Beckfield. I believe Mark was gone. Schneider,
Yes.
Leary,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
Jansen,
Yes.
Schraffnagel,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and Christofferson.
Yes.
Go back, Carl. Let's see. The Steve Chilson, I can see he was on the call. Or was it Kevin still just?
Yeah, no, I was a yes.
Okay. So that was Kevin, was a yes. And Steve? Okay. So we have 26 yes.
That's 26 yes and 0 no, correct?
Yes, that's correct. 3 people absent.
Thank you. It is unanimous. Thank you, supervisors. This repeal will go into effect immediately. Thank you.
Suspend the rules. Now we have to
No,
vote.
Just
vote on it.
Oh, sorry.
Still vote, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you for your patience with me. So now we have a suspension of the rules. We will move to a vote on the repeal. And this is what requires the 2/3. This also requires a 2/3 vote.
Chair Smart, I think you have to have discussion if you want to have any of that. Any members want to address it because they
Okay.
haven't done that yet.
Yes, thank you. Discussion, comment? Well, okay.
I would just
Supervisor.
note, Mr. Chairman, that administration committee met prior to the board meeting and unanimously recommended approval.
Yes, thank you.
I'd
Supervisor
also like to make
Bates.
a comment.
Bates.
Thank you. I think we all realize that this is something that's going to happen, but we also realize there's an element of risk. So for many of the individuals, I stopped in at the senior center this afternoon, only to find that there were about half of the people there were wearing masks. The others were not. When I stopped to speak to some individuals sitting at tables, they had all checked with each other to see whether or not they had the vaccine. And that's where this is going to now go, is that we continue to weigh the risks and do what is really important, the risk to ourselves, our families, and our neighbors. Even though the mandate is not there, there will be times, obviously as outlined by our health department director, when a mask will be important. So we support this, knowing that our community has now had education to understand the benefits of living carefully during a time when we still continue to have some infections. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Chairman Schmeier?
I think I heard Supervisor Dunning first.
Thank you, Chair Smart. I have two thoughts on this. One is that I hope that the people that are concerned about the rights that they have to not have to do this are as equally concerned about the people that they come in contact with that don't have, that they are regarding their health. This is a two-way street. It works. Yes, we may not be able to spread it, but if we do and someone dies as a result of it, they didn't have choice necessarily. So I hope that we do look at this with good thoughts and with safety in mind, and that we do as we in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Who was the other person who spoke?
Supervisor Neiman.
Please go ahead.
I'm wondering if it's possible to hear what the Board of Health information was about this change.
Certainly. I'm looking to see if Director Gieske is online. Don't think she is.
I am.
Oh, you are? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Smyer, and thank you, County Board. This ordinance that you put into place has made a difference. Face mask use is one strategy to help slow down the spread of disease. Last night, the Board of Health met in an emergency meeting related to the proposal that you have in front of you. They did not vote to support repeal or not support repeal, but they did, and Chair Smyer does have the document that was prepared by the board chair and submitted to City Council and County Board as part of the information. The strongest message is that this is good news and vaccination does work. That the CDC did name that last Thursday, and the Board of Health concurred that that is good news. The Board of Health also stated that there is risk, and that risk is mitigated if those that are unvaccinated wear a mask. It's, as CDC recommends, it's mitigated if we continue all the other basic public health practices, and the Board of Health named those to include testing, disease investigation, isolation and quarantine, and distance and masks if vaccination has not happened. So their feedback to the board included the solid focus on this is an individual opportunity that we have to get vaccinated, and the CDC was speaking to how vaccines work. They did not speak at a community level except to say that masks need to remain in schools, need to remain in correctional facilities and in healthcare, as well as with public transportation, and for all of those people that are unvaccinated.
Thank you. I see two hands raised. Supervisor DeLuca.
Hey, Mr. Chair. I was concerned about it up for first reading, and we're always concerned that we make sure that the public has opportunity for input. And by suspending the rules, I think we're limiting our opportunity for all to give input. I am concerned a bit about sort of the people that are in limbo. If I had to attend our county board meeting this evening in person, I would not have been fully vaccinated. I tried to get my vaccine as quickly as possible, but I was in the healthy group that had to wait until it opened up for all 16 and above. Took me a week to get an appointment, and I have yet to reach my 2 weeks beyond my second vaccination, so I'm not fully vaccinated right now. And there are many other people that are in that same kind of limbo, especially the kids that are 12 to 15, which are just now receiving their first doses of the Pfizer vaccine, and that's the only vaccine that kids 12 to 15 can have. I'm concerned about their risk if we pull the mask mandate. The other thing, I was concerned about some of the comments that we received this evening in written form, not so much in the verbal form, but it seemed like people felt that kids would not have to mask anymore in schools and elsewhere. I feel comfortable with the removal of the mandate from the outdoor setting. I'm concerned, and we had probably 7 or 8 comments asking us to hold off just a little bit longer. Can't we wait till we get more people vaccinated? Can we keep it so that it's just for the indoor settings and open it up for the outdoor setting? I would like to see us do maybe some kind of changes to it versus straight repeal. And that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson.
Yes, I just wanted to echo the sentiment of some of the public comment and thank the health director for and her team for putting in the work to get us the positive numbers that we were looking for to make this repeal.
Thank you. Supervisor Neiman.
Thank you, Chair Smyer. Another aspect that I wanted to bring forth is that I've received concerns from citizens related to removal of the mask use in the indoor settings, healthcare, correctional institutions, shelters, public transportation, and schools, particularly schools with concerns about the children. Some people who commented said, you know, listen to the science, listen to what the CDC says, and the CDC says that masks need to continue in those areas. And so I'm concerned that if we totally eliminate the mask mandate, that these vulnerable populations will not be protected. And I'm wondering, what is the process that we need to take in order to ensure that protections for those vulnerable people remain?
Is that a question for which you would like to have an answer now?
Yes, if it, I guess I have asked Corp Counsel about how the section on mask requirement could be altered. And so that's a question that if I have, it would make a difference in my voting yes or no, to know what needs to be done. Does this current mandate need to be repealed before any amendments can be put forth?
Corp Counsel.
Well, there's a couple of different answers to that question. First of all, if the board tonight votes to repeal chapter 8.35, that means the entire chapter is gone. And so including those provisions requiring wearing a mask, all of those sorts of things. And so we would not be able to amend a chapter that no longer exists because it no longer would be within the code. And so if we were to amend it, we would have to amend it prior to the vote to determine whether or not to repeal, assuming that it would be repealed. And so that's the first consideration. The second is that if you're talking about doing an amendment to chapter 838, you have to offer an ordinance. That ordinance would have to be brought forth in the normal course of procedure, it would go to a committee, it would be approved by the committee, it would then come to the board for a first reading and then go for a second reading. And the ordinance that we have tonight came through the Committee on Administration. It's now here for a first reading. We've had a suspension of the rules so we could vote on it. Typically, if the procedure is that a board supervisor is offering an amendment, that would come in and then the chair would typically assign it to a committee and then it would come back to the board. There is no noticed amendment that is on our agenda tonight. So the procedure would be that it would be forwarded to a committee if we were to have an amendment of chapter 8.35. But if the board tonight votes on the ordinance that's in front of it right now and that's being considered right now, and it votes to repeal the ordinance, it becomes a moot question.
I would point out to you also that the ordinance that we're looking at was done in concert with the city. So all of the things that the Corp Council just described, we'd have to coordinate with the city if we wish to keep that same cooperative stance. Supervisor Neiman?
So I guess I'm still uncertain. I mean, I would like to see the CDC situations in which masks are meant to continue somehow to get into our action. So,
you know, if I could offer a comment to that too. Our mask mandate requires the wearing of masks while you're indoors. Institutions such as schools have been operating on their own as to whether or not they require masks, and have been operating outside of necessarily this ordinance. Most of the schools are still requiring masks, as I understand it. They can continue to do that from this time forward, because schools are their own governmental body, and they can require their children to do that. Likewise, healthcare institutions and businesses can still require people to wear masks within their buildings. But it's done privately. It's not done as a result of a governmental action.
will the county's conduct of masks in the jails change with repeal of this ordinance?
You know, I think the jail personnel would have to answer that, but I think that they're going to continue to follow the CDC guidance.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Christopherson.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I want to ask kind of a follow-up question and also speak in support of still having masks in schools and all of the places that Supervisor Neiman just mentioned that is recommended by the CDC. Is that a question that Director Gieseke could address to help us understand how the health department is going to make their recommendations for those areas that the CDC is recommending?
I'm not sure who would address that. Director Gieseke?
Certainly, Chair Smyer, I can address the health department's role. We continue to focus on CDC and state recommendations, and we would do that moving forward, and will do that moving forward, regardless of where the vote lands. So our recommendations will continue to align with CDC. The necessity of masks in schools, in healthcare, in the jail, and in our shelters and public transportation, as well as by unvaccinated individuals, will continue as our strong recommendations.
Thank you.
Schneider with a follow-up question to that.
Supervisor Schneider.
So if it's the health department's strong recommendation, but we don't have a ordinance if the mask mandate's repealed, then does the health department have any power, or is it just the power of persuasion?
Director Gieseke?
We have not to date enforced based on the current ordinance. Our how we work in this community and have worked all along is to provide support and technical assistance to entities and individuals. We'll continue to do that, and we will work with schools and businesses, particularly on the risk and how to decrease risk in many different ways, including continuing to wear masks. The schools and a number of businesses in Eau Claire have counted on the ordinance to provide some level of support for consistency, and that certainly does make a difference. But we will, as a health department, continue in our role with all of those entities. And we haven't to date enforced. We have certainly done significant follow-up with entities, but not enforced.
Thank you.
Does the mandate or lack of it change that in any way for you?
The requirement in ordinance with the specific consequence that you wrote in ordinance as a county board would be gone.
Thank you. Any other comment or question? Before we move to vote, Supervisors DeLuca.
Schneider with a follow-up to that.
You were speaking for the third time, so without objection, go ahead.
Is the fact that the health department did not make a recommendation, is that significant? I would like to hear that from the director.
The Board of Health did not recommend one way or another, and as a health department director, my responsibility is for the population as a whole, and certainly about 50% of our population in Eau Claire County is not currently protected, either because they can't get the vaccine, about 15,000 people, or because they've chosen not to. So we do have risk. The ordinance itself is not alone going to result in by itself a change in outcome in a way that is that would lead me to provide a specific recommendation at this point in time. But I am responsible for letting the board know that there is significant risk involved in what might happen with disease in the future. And I certainly will be coming back to inform you about that if disease rates change, or if we do get a variant case of COVID-19 that is able to develop because of low vaccination rates and then becomes vaccine resistant. And that's the risk that we have with the rates that we have currently.
Thank you.
Supervisor Neiman, as part of the Board of Health, I'd like to add a little bit to that.
Go ahead.
The board was instructed when we started deliberations about this that it was not our role to tell the county what it should or shouldn't do, but to provide information about the health aspects of this particular decision so that supervisors would have full information about the implications of the decision either way.
Thank you. Other comment?
Supervisor Cronk.
Supervisor Cronk.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to echo some of the same concerns that have been brought up. And I think this is, obviously very tough for all of us. We want to have some consistency, which has been difficult from the get-go a year ago. And it does make it difficult, I think, for us and for the Board of Health as well, with sort of a patchwork potential where we sit now with the city repealing the ordinance tonight. It sounds like the schools are under, their own governmental body. So while the recommendation is that they should, we know that word doesn't always mean that happens. And I think one of my concerns, although, we've all been trying to band together as best as we can and try to help each other out for the past year, I think it does make it difficult. Some of the rationale that Supervisor DeLuca was talking about, the delayed people maybe wanting to get the vaccination but have not been able to yet. And so I guess one of my questions is, with Supervisor Neiman's questions about amendments and Attorney Sullivan's or Court Counsel Sullivan's expertise in saying that if there had been written amendments that would have gone back to committee, I'm curious, what committee would that be? Would it be the health department, the city county health department board, or which committee ultimately would that be?
It has to be a committee of the board. Is that correct, Court Counsel?
That's correct. And the committee can be decided by the chair as to which committee it would go to.
It could be potentially this city county health because it's a joint committee, correct? Or no?
Well, the city county, it could, but it is not a standing committee of the board.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question or comment? Supervisors DeLuca and Neiman, would you please lower your hands?
So I had another comment.
I'm sorry, is that?
Yes, I would like, Corp Counsel said that amendment could be offered this evening. Yes?
No, I said if an ordinance was offered this evening, which would amend the ordinance, is what I said. If we have an amendment to some part of chapter 838, we're not amending the current ordinance that's being considered by the board, but it would be an amendment to the ordinance, some part of it, like for example, 8.35.0010. We would amend the language within that particular part of the ordinance is what we would be doing.
I'd
And
like,
if that were to be brought forward, you know, first of all, it has to be, there has to be presented, there has to be something in writing presented about it, because we don't know what that amendment to the ordinance would be. And then the chair would have to decide whether or not it goes to a committee, and that would be the normal procedure under the code. And then the committee would consider it and then send it back to the board with a recommendation to approve it or not approve it. And then in the normal course, it would have 2 readings. It's not an amendment to a motion like you would have for a resolution. This is an amendment to an ordinance. It's a different process.
so if I wanted to offer an ordinance that we would follow current CDC guidelines, and as they change, we would change with them. Could I present that ordinance this evening, or would I have to in writing?
Well,
Ordinances are done in writing.
Right.
Right, so that I can't do anything with that situation that I'm presenting tonight.
That's
Not
my,
tonight. That's
my
correct.
Right. Thank you.
Because it's also not been noticed too. So.
Okay, thank you. I see no other hands raised. I hear no other voices. Supervisors, we are going to vote on the repeal of the face covering ordinance. We have voted to suspend the rules, so this will be the vote on the repeal, and that repeal, if it is voted, will be immediately effective.
And for clarification, a yes vote is to repeal.
That's correct. Thank you. Clerk McDonald, will you please do the roll call vote?
Gibson,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Pagonis,
Yes.
Anton, Carl Anton.
I voted yes.
Thank you. Zook,
Yes.
Stelgis,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Bates. Bates? Okay. See you. Yes. Russell,
Yes.
Gatlin,
Yes.
Smyer,
Yes.
Hambuck Boyle,
Yes.
Neiman,
Yes.
Dunning,
Yes.
Wilkie,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Leary,
Yes.
DeLuca, Heather DeLuca,
No.
Jansen,
Yes.
Schroffnagel,
No.
Roberts, Roberts,
Yes.
Kronk,
No.
Christofferson.
Yes.
And just to go back, just verify that Chilson, Henning, and Beckfield, none of you are on the line. All right. So we have 3 noes and 23 yeses and 3 absent.
The motion passes. Thank you, supervisors. We'll now move on to Committee on Parks and Forests, file 006. Clerk McDonald.
An ordinance to amend section 16.02.030A 3 and B7 of the code, designation of wilderness areas.
Motion.
Wilkie,
Motion by
motion
Leary.
to approve.
Wilkie moves to
Second by
approve.
Leary.
Second is by Supervisor Leary. Thank you. Explanation, Supervisor Stelchis.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would like to confirm we are still operating under suspension. Is that correct?
No, the suspension was in regard to the repeal of the ordinance. If you want
I
to,
would move, I would move that we suspend for this item as well, because I would like to take action on it.
I
This is a
understand.
second reading. It's a second reading. We don't need to suspend.
Oh, this is the first reading.
Is that correct? This is second reading?
No.
This is first reading.
Oh, I'm sorry.
First reading.
We've got something in both places. Never mind.
This is actually a resolution. It's already been considered by the Parks and Forest Committee. Because it's come from Parks and Forest, we would take action on it tonight. It's not an ordinance.
Is it not a change in the ordinance, in the code?
It is actually a change in the ordinance.
Yes, it is.
Excuse me. And so
I
it
think we're
should be.
confusing the items.
Yeah, it should be
File-
listed under first reading.
It is listed under first reading. I think there's 2 items in succession here. File
Okay.
21-2206 is first reading. The next item is a resolution, but this is first reading of an ordinance change.
Yeah, this
So we
should,
do
this
need
should
to-
have been placed under agenda item number 8 as opposed to 9.
It is
We are
under
on
8.
eight.
It is under 8 on my.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is very confusing. I'm reading this as,
Stelgis is correct. Supervisor Stelgis is correct. It is first reading. And if you want to take action on it, you would need a suspension of the rules.
okay, so it is an ordinance change. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
Second the motion to suspend.
Motion by Supervisor Stelchis, second by,
Supervisor Gibson.
Supervisor.
I'm sorry. That was 3 or 4 people at the same time. Sorry.
Gibson seconded.
Fine. Okay, Gibson seconds. We have a motion to suspend the rules in order for us to vote on this ordinance change this evening. So our vote will be on suspension of the rules.
Suspension.
Yes. I'm gonna do
I
this
think we
by,
can do this by voice.
I want to do it by roll call. So Clerk McDonald, please roll call vote on the motion to suspend.
Gibson,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Pagonis,
Yes.
Anton,
Yes.
Zook,
Yes.
Stelgis,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Bates,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Gatlin,
Yes.
Smyer,
Yes.
Hambuck Boyle,
Yes.
Neiman,
Yes.
Dunning,
Yes.
Wilkie,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Leary,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
Jansen,
Yes.
Schroffnagel,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Kronk,
Yes.
Christofferson.
Yes.
We have 26 yes and 3 absent.
Okay, that is unanimous. So now we will proceed to considering the ordinance change. We jumped over explanation there, so I'm back to
Yeah.
Supervisor Stelzis to give us background and explanation.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Smyer. A couple months ago, we as a board had a moment of silence to recognize the passing of former Supervisor Willett. And I think at that time, we were acknowledging what a all-around great guy he was and a superb human being, how much we missed him. But this action in front of us tonight is to honor his legacy of his vision and his statesmanship. And particularly within the Parks and Forest Committee and other committees as well, we debated a number of ways to do that. One of which was to rename our stewardship fund after him, a couple of monuments here and there. But the one that came to the top of the list was to either create or rename one of our wilderness areas, of which we have 3 in the county. And it's most notable to choose to do that because Supervisor Willett was so instrumental in their creation. So if you'll indulge me, a little history here. Our wilderness areas came to pass 25 years ago in 1996. And doing a little research of the publications and the debate at that point, I surfaced 2 newspaper articles on the topic, one of which was written by a gentleman by the name of Joe Knight, who's now our Supervisor Knight, titled White Pine May Rise Again in the County, but Not All Agree on the Best Way to Manage Them. And another article by another writer for the paper, Dan Lixit, an article entitled Wild Idea. So I would like to read just a few excerpts from Dan Lixit's article because I think it really speaks to Bruce Willett's motivation and his perseverance. So this is set in December of 1996, and Dan was trying to find and enter into the Hathaway Creek Wilderness Area. So I'm quoting, "My legs were burning, and I knew I shouldn't have worn the damn sweater. Snowshoeing on a 36-degree day is like strapping patio bricks to your feet, wet, heavy snow collecting in the webbing, the weighted toe drooping enough to snag any one of the 1,000 branches I'd float across on a normal winter's day. And twisty Hathaway Creek has thawed, sending me on a winding upstream search for a crossing, up and down steep little hillocks, a death grip on my walking stick, often only the thing between me and the ignoble tumble to the slushy ground. I finally found a deadfall to rest on, one that I could fit my snowshoes underneath. I lit a Camel and looked over through steamy glasses at the northwest horizon. To a goal I wouldn't reach this day. A quarter mile away stood towering white pine trees, some a century old or more, in silhouette against a gray sky. Eau Claire County officials are designating this area called Hathaway Woods and 2 other county forest areas similarly dominated by white pine stands as wild, protected from roads, utility lines, and other development. Motor vehicles would be prohibited, as would any logging. County Supervisor Bruce Willett is one of the driving forces behind this proposal. Areas like those have some real historical and educational value, Willett said. They're places where trees were probably too young to cut back when they were lumbered, but now are some pretty impressive things. The idea is to have a couple areas where you might be able to get an idea of what it was like before this land was logged off. So far in the debate, the strongest voices against the designation are the professional foresters who tend the county land. They say some management, including logging, is needed to provide a healthy forest. But in this situation, the professionals have failed to make their case, have failed to explain why a few acres of nature and the white pines shouldn't be allowed to take their course. I hope the real reason for their opposition isn't money. Logging income is growing in importance as the county looks for revenue sources past the tax dollar. But ecology, not the dollar, should guide this decision. The county forest plan allows for the designation of wild areas, but so far there are none. From my winded perch on a damp log, nearly in the shadow of those tall pines, I think it's time they numbered 3. So that articulates the debate that went on between the professional foresters and Bruce Willett's vision of protecting these things. And as you could determine, the fact that we're modifying a code for an existing wilderness area, Supervisor Willett prevailed. And he did that by working with the people who were the opponents of this and ultimately convincing the board to designate these wilderness areas. So I just can't think of a better way to honor Bruce than to rename this the Bruce Willett Wilderness Area. And I hope that you support this change. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comment, or discussion?
Only a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Wilkie.
Thank you to the Parks and Forests Committee members for bringing this forward to this board. That is appreciated by all of us, and especially those that had the privilege of knowing Bruce for many years. Having enjoyed sitting next to him through many county board meetings, I know without a doubt that Bruce Willett is looking down and probably sending us a hug of love, but at the same time, I'm sure he's hugging a tree up there. Thank you, committee.
Thank you. I would like to mention also that I have directed that we provide a memorial stone at the Beaver Creek Reserve in honor of Bruce Willett. It would be paid out of our Sunshine Fund. It doesn't require a board action. Other comment or discussion regarding this motion? I hear none.
Oh, a comment from Anderson.
Supervisor Anderson, go ahead.
I would like to note that I'm grateful for the really fantastic context provided in the explanation, especially for someone who back in 1996 was just learning they could miss a tree for the first time. That it's nice to have that perspective of what was going on and what it has given me personally today that I didn't even know about. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other hands raised. I hear no voices. Supervisors, we will proceed. Sorry. We will proceed to vote on file 12, adopting the Eau Claire County, I'm sorry, file 6. Confused that one again. The ordinance to amend section 16.02.050A3 and B7 of the code, designation of wilderness areas in honor of former Supervisor Bruce Willett. This is an ordinance change. I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Clerk McDonald.
Gibson,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Pagonis,
Yes.
Anton,
Yes.
Zook,
Yes.
Stelgis,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
Maury.
He said yes.
Okay, thank you. Coffee,
Yes.
Henning, oh, Marie's not here. Bates,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Gatlin,
Yes.
Smyer,
Yes.
Hamburg Boyle,
Yes.
Neiman,
Yes.
Dunning,
Yes.
Bulkey,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Leary,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
Jansen, Jansen, yes. Okay. Schraffnagel, Roberts,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and Christofferson.
Yes.
Okay.
The vote is unanimous, and I think that that's very significant and in honoring the memory of Bruce Willett. So thank you for your unanimous vote on that matter. The next item on our agenda, which we almost did before, also from the Committee on Parks and Forests, File 12.
A resolution adopting the Eau Claire County Forest Comprehensive Land Use Plan.
Thank you.
Schraffnagel moves.
Moved by Schraffnagel, second? Second?
Seconds.
Sorry?
Coffee seconds.
Coffee seconds, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Explanation, Supervisor Stelzis.
Yes, thank you, Chair Smyer. So I appreciate Clerk McDonald spared us 336 pages of attachment in our file here, but rather provided a link. So once every 10 or 15 years, the county is required to develop a land use plan for the county forest. And so that's what this document is. And ultimately, it will go to the Department of Natural Resources for approval so that we can continue to be part of the county forest, the state county forest program. But this is, as the word says, it's very comprehensive. And I guess I would like to just point out that while we see a lot of these big plans, they are very tedious to put together. And oftentimes we glaze over when we look at them or consider them. But this particular plan, I can say that we have tediously through chapter by chapter with the entire Parks and Forest Committee, taking comments and questions and doing multiple edits on every single section, which required multiple meetings. So I'm very proud of the fact that that we've had great input into this, which resulted in actually quite a few changes. This was also made available for public comment, and it also was commented upon by our Parks and Forest Advisory Committee. I have asked Director Peterson to be with us this evening, so he might do a very short synopsis of what the significant changes are in this plan from its previous version. So I think I saw Josh is on, and Chair, if we could turn the floor to him.
Without objection, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as Kevin stated, we certainly worked on this plan for probably a good portion of the last 1.5 to 2 years. There's been many challenges as everyone has dealt with the pandemic, but we did get to an end plan here that is a very good plan. Something that I'm very proud of myself. This is my first process going through this, but some of the changes or noteworthy things that this plan reflects that the previous one did not. I have a list of things here, and I'll just go over some of the highlights here. There's more focus in this plan on some of the goals that the county as a whole is working on, such as climate change and sustainability. We have a section in the plan that focuses on favorable forestry practices that will help make the county's goal of being carbon neutral by 2050. There is additional language in this plan that regards any land sales or land trades that we would consider in the future that do require a 2-to-1 ratio of value replacement on those sales or trades, which was not in the previous plan. There's updated information on some of the silvicultural trials that we are doing on the county forest, some experimental work on oak that we're conducting with UWSP, some of our aerial seeding, some of our deer exposure practices that we're doing. All these things are new, that some new forestry practices that we were not doing in the last 15-year plan. There's increased language in this plan on our tree retention guidelines, our green tree retention. This is the amount of dominant cover that is left on timber sales and the guidelines for that, some new language in there. There's also inclusion of some of our geological and culturally significant sites on the forest, areas like Big Falls and Knights Pool and Hamilton Falls. Those areas were not featured in the last plan. There's increased language on our dispersed camping permit process in the county forest. There's more language in our recreational trails section that focuses on how we build new trails, what considerations go into development of new trails and permitting process that we need. There's also focus on some of our future staffing needs that we may have as our department continues to expand and take on additional duties. Some of that is focused on our recreational deputy. That might be something that our department would want to partner with the sheriff's department in the future. And then just on our natural succession and loss of some of our species on the county forest, some of our species that are the earlier successional species, our jack pine and our aspen, some of those are decreasing in the county forest while they're tending to convert to white pine, which I listened through the whole part about Bruce Willett and how white pine is, you know, to a forester, it's a bad tree, but we definitely learned to appreciate that as well. So, yeah, there's other things I have here, but I don't want to take up too much time. All I want to focus on is these things and let you guys know that we definitely had a very thorough review on this, and it was a rewarding process to go through for myself and all the committee members.
Thank you. Questions, comment, or discussion? I hear none and I see none. We will now take a vote by voice. Please unmute. Okay. All right. All those in favor of file 12, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed by nay. It is unanimous. Thank you. Next, from the Committee on Finance and Budget, file 001. This is second reading. Clerk McDonald, will you read the ordinance reference?
An ordinance amending section 2.12.140B of the code, medical examiner system.
Motion.
Motions.
So moved.
Was that
Dunning makes a motion.
moved by Dunning, second by Bates? Thank you. Explanation, Supervisor Pagonis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The fact sheet in this is not very clear, so I'm going to explain it a little bit. I did revise the fact sheet, but somehow it didn't get replaced with the ordinance. So we use an outside medical examiner from Dunn County. Medical examiner is has certain duties, which include having charging for funeral home services, charging for cremations, death certificates. And this ordinance is a slight increase in fees. So what you're seeing here is that just a slight increase in 3 different fee areas. What was confusing about the fact sheet is that the fiscal impact to this is expected to be an increase to the county of $7,300. So, and that's what I found confusing. So this is to the county's benefit. Because this is a fee change, actually, I guess I have to ask Corp Counsel. I did not think it would require a 2/3 vote, but I would have Corp Counsel weigh in on that because I'm not sure.
I don't believe this requires a 2/3 vote.
So we agree for once.
At least once.
We'll mark that down for posterity. Thank you. Questions and or comments, discussion?
Schneider with a question.
Supervisor Schneider.
If we're paying higher fees, how do we end up making money?
We aren't paying higher fees, we're receiving higher fees. It's the fee that's charged for the service. So the funeral homes are charged for cremation permits and death certificates. So they are paying the higher fee, we're receiving the fee.
Thank you.
Any other question or comment? Supervisors, we will do this, but, well, let's see. This is an ordinance change, and my preference is to do this by a roll call vote.
Okay.
Gibson,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Pagonis,
Yes.
Anton,
Yes.
Zook,
Yes.
Stelgis,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Bates, Russell,
Yes.
Gatlin,
Yes.
Smyer,
Yes.
Hambuck Boyle,
Yes.
Neiman,
Yes.
Dunning,
Yes.
Wilkie,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Leary,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
Jansen,
Yes.
Schroffnagel,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Christofferson.
Yes.
I heard that as unanimous. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, supervisors. Our next item is file 013.
A resolution authorizing the sale of tax deed property to former owner Jack DeMoe II for $1,198.71. Directing Corporation Counsel to prepare a quitclaim deed on the described property and directing the county clerk to execute said quitclaim deed on behalf of Eau Claire County.
Motion.
Motion by Leary.
Leary moves.
Gatlin second.
Gatlin seconds. Thank you. Explanation, Supervisor Pagonis.
Thank you, Chair Smyer. This is pretty simple. This individual, Mr. DeMoe, for some reason did not pay his taxes for a few years. He received notice from the county clerk and he said, oh, oops, I'm going to pay my taxes so I can maintain the property. Both state statute and county code requires that if the former owner wishes to purchase back their property, they're able to do so, and the county essentially breaks out even. So Mr. DeMoe is paying $1,198.71 and regaining title to his property. So we're obligated to do this.
Supervisor Pagonis, would you report to Finance and Budget action?
Finance and Budget voted 5-0, and I had the date written down here somewhere. It was a couple of meetings ago, but I don't see what the date was. But
Close
yes,
enough.
we voted on it 5-0.
Thank you.
May
Questions?
17th.
Thank you.
May 17th.
Questions, discussion, comments? Supervisors, I assume you're ready to vote. Excuse me, you're ready to vote on file 013. We'll do this by voice vote. Please unmute. All those in favor of file 13, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed by nay. It is unanimous. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is file 004.
A resolution authorizing carry forward of funds from 2020 budget into 2021 budget.
Motion.
Supervisor Wilkie moves.
Wilkie moves.
Second, Humbach Boyle.
Humbach Boyle seconds. Thank you. Explanation, Supervisor Pagonis.
Yes, I'll be quick on this one. So this is the third, I will be. This is the third carry forward we've done this year. On February 17th, we did a carry forward of about 600,000. That was specific to highway. On April 20th, we did a $3,280,000 carry forward that had a whole variety of things, primarily capital. What you see today, these two items, some funding from the general fund, which is specifically for information services, and the other amount for LED lighting for facilities, they were missed. So when we did that much larger carry forward in April, these were others that we missed. So this is something, as we said, we have a carry forward policy. And as you can see in your documentation, this is primarily because the projects were delayed. So this, I'm hopeful that this will wind things up on the carry forward front.
Would you report the action of the committee?
The committee voted on April 20, actually, I don't know when the committee voted. The committee voted to approve, but I don't remember when we did it. So
That's good enough. What was the vote? 5-0?
5-0.
Thank you. Questions, comment, or discussion? I hear none. I see no hands raised. We will do this by voice vote. Supervisors, please unmute. All those in favor of file 004, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And bless you.
That wasn't part of the vote, but okay. All those opposed by nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next is file 015.
Authorizing a budget amendment to exceed the amount of expenditure for the new highway facility.
Motion. I'm sorry.
I just said it was a resolution.
I'm sorry, lost there. Who moved that? Motion. Anyone? Motion.
Leary moves.
Leary moves. Thank you. Leary moves. Dunning seconds. I just picked you, Supervisor Dunning. There's a panoply of voices there. Sorry. Oops, sorry. Jumping around here. Explanation, Supervisor Pagonis again.
Okay, this resolution failed 0 to 4 at finance. And so I would ask that Supervisor Dunning report on this because I believe we have a substitute resolution. So I'm not sure how, Chair Smyer, you want to proceed, but this failed in finance, so Supervisor Dunning can report on what happened in building committee.
That sounds like a very good move to me. Supervisor Dunning.
Oh, thank you. Yes, the building committee met last week and approved the increase of funding because of a variety of situations that you saw in the fact sheet. That we had estimated initially on 2018 design, and then when we went to bonding, we had a new estimate and we bonded for that. And since then, because of the COVID, we've had material prices go up, and we then proceeded to realize that we needed to raise the amount that we needed to have to pay for the building up to $32,753,000. We looked at various ways to cut the cost. The designers and John have gone through and on the second page of the fact sheet, you'll see a list of $2,100,000 worth of cost reductions that were put in, and anyway, that still left us short, and so we are now at the point of where we need to approve a new limit. And in our initial, in this resolution, I go down to it. Then the whereas has authorized increasing the budget out to that and directing to continue to explore. Well, that's the new one.
What is this?
Anyway, what had happened is that it looked too much like it was being put onto the bonding, and at this point in time, we're not necessarily certain we want to increase the bonding by that much, at least without going down the line a little further. But this earlier this evening, we rescinded this resolution and put another one in place.
If I can, I'd like to just explain briefly why finance voted against it. The original resolution that was sent out there that's in the packet is asking for a budget amendment. And when we have a budget amendment, we have a certain expectation that we identify with the an accurate, fairly accurate estimate of expenditures, but that we also identify where the funding is coming from. And the resolution was, because we don't know yet, we have multiple options available. And so some of us felt that it was not appropriate as an amendment. And so that is why it failed. And the substitute resolution, which I'm hopeful will get moved, changes it from a budget amendment to an affirmation that we're going to construct the building.
So what has come forward is a resolution affirming.
Nope, not yet. That hasn't been moved. All that's been moved is the budget amendment that has to, I thought Supervisor Leary or Supervisor Wilkie were going to offer the substitute resolution.
Okay. I'm trying to sort this out. So the original resolution is coming forward. Your intention is that there would be a motion to substitute an amendment, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so let's get
the resolution. Yes.
So let's bring out the original resolution onto the floor by a motion.
That's done.
We've already done that.
Okay.
Yeah. So now this
No.
is for the substitute, so I'm seconding Stella's motion to bring it out for the substitution, which she just stated.
No.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Supervisor Pagonis, you are moving the substitute amendment.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Okay. Second on that. Sorry.
Second, Leary.
Supervisor Leary, thank you. Do you want to explain now what we're doing?
I'll
Supervisor?
do my best. It is very confusing, and I apologize to the board.
No. That's all right.
The reason
The confusion is mine. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
The substitute resolution that's being put before you is being placed there because we wish to affirm the support for this project. Because in order to do the parts and the ordering and get the building going, we need to affirm our support for this. But at the same time, as Supervisor Pagonis said, there are various options that we have to pay for the difference. And the building committee, which I'm pleased to be on that, we understand and we need to do this in a timely manner because it seems the longer we delay, the higher the price goes for building materials. At the same time, I'm on the Finance and Budget Committee. I understand the concern. We don't want to bond for the entire additional amount. So we're trying to, and it was, as I understood it this evening, unanimous. Both the Finance and Budget Committee that met this evening is in support of this resolution of the substitute, as well as the Highway Building Committee also unanimously passed the substitute resolution. And we would greatly appreciate the board supporting this so that the building can continue. Thank you.
Thank you for the explanation.
That's correct.
Supervisor
Chairman
Wilkie.
Smeyer.
Yeah.
Hold on. I heard Wilkie
Hang
first.
Okay.
Wilkie first, followed by Dunning, followed by Pagonis.
Well,
Okay.
first of all, I want to thank members of the Highway Building Committee and the Budget and Finance Committee taking a deep breath on this one and figuring out the best way to approach it. A number of people worked on this. I was not happy with obviously the amending the budget and not knowing the source on the revenue side. You don't do that. That's not a proper way to amend a budget. We clearly know the expenses, unfortunately, no fault of ours or pandemic put us in this bind. But what was determined it wasn't appropriate to do a budget amendment at this time until we could bring to the board here and firmness, where are we getting the revenue? What you are doing is you're acknowledging, affirming the fact that the reality is if we're going to proceed with this building and end up with a meaningful highway facility, the cost has increased. Painful reality. So if you vote for this tonight, you're affirming, yep, we're going to have to bite the bullet on that part of it. However, you'll have another kick at it at some point in time. We will bring it back. I don't know why I'm getting feedback. We will bring it back to the board for your final vote. If it's bonding, it has to come before the board. If it's in our 2022 budget, well, that's the time you would vote for it. If it's the COVID funds, federal funds, which I'm very hopeful we can tap into those significantly, that process will ultimately again get before the board. But we felt it from a Budget and Finance Committee and the Building Committee that we needed to bring it to your attention that the building is going to, in reality, cost more, and would like your support to still move ahead with the design and ultimately the construction. So I would encourage you to support and vote yes on the substitute resolution for file 212215.
I'm going to change the sequence because Supervisor Gibson had his hand raised first. So Supervisor Gibson, followed by Dunning, followed by Pagonis. Supervisor Gibson.
Yeah, thank you. I had a question. I've got a few friends of mine that are contractors, and a lot of the costs they've explained to me is that a lot of the cost increases because of this COVID situation that we're all in, for a few different reasons. Would it, thinking about this financially, I mean, is it a possibility that this could be postponed for another year, put off for another year? Because a lot of those contractors have, they're thinking and knowing what's going on in that industry. They feel that once we get back to normalcy, that a lot of the cost for the building products is going to go down once this COVID situation settles out.
So you would be speaking against the resolution?
Well, I'm not necessarily speaking against it. I'm asking the question is, would it be financially better for us to postpone this and wait another year for those costs to go down, or to come back down, I should say?
I have a couple responses.
Yeah, I see.
And I'm sure Supervisor Dunning does as well.
Yeah, well, we'll move on to that. I just wanted to point out that what you're discussing, Supervisor Gibson, is a question we can certainly ask. However, what's relevant tonight is the consideration of the motion in front of us. So I'm not ignoring your comment, but I'm pointing out where it fits in tonight's discussion. Supervisor Dunning.
First of all, I'm wondering if the board has gotten the revised substitute resolution. Has that been sent out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
we do have it, Jim.
Okay. But yeah, so therefore the basic change is in the last paragraph of that, where we supporting it to go to the estimated. Now, as far as Supervisor Gibson's concerns, if as we go along, we need to lock this in if we're going to do something. If we don't, there are a lot of other expenses that will take place whether we wait or not, that have to be met, whether it's the Meals on Wheels that has to find a new place in the next year, or some other issues that will have to be done, as well as fixing up the current building in order to make it go. So we've got a lot of need to do this at this point in time. I also have some concern about the prices going down. If that plan, the bill that's in Congress now, as far as infrastructure goes through, there's going to be a heavy demand on steel and concrete for the next several years. So I'm not sure that we will see a downturn in the immediate future of that we could postpone. So I'm looking for support to go ahead, and if the prices drop as we go along, well, we will work through that. But right now, this is where we're at. And also to look at some of the other issues, it looked like a fairly large amount, but we also had some costs that were added to the project that we had not planned on in the initial budgets, and that was the Meals on Wheels and the emergency response room. It was about $2.5 million of cost that was added to this project that we had not planned on. So it's not all materials. So I'm looking for your support.
Thank you. Supervisor Pagonis, followed by Supervisor Stelzis, followed by Supervisor DeLuca.
Well, I'm going to primarily echo what Supervisor Dunning has said. The current highway building, we had previously set aside well over $1 million for the purposes of repairs, even some of the minor repairs, to just get by. And it's really untenable it would really be throwing good money after bad. The second thing is the kitchen, the Meals on Wheels kitchen, they're paying almost $7,000 a month for the kitchen. The equipment is starting to fall apart. They have a very strong need to move, and their leases is going to be up, and the prices just continue to increase. So I echo completely what Supervisor Dunning said. The second that we should consider is, I mean, none of us have crystal balls. We can't read into the future. And what we're doing today is saying we estimate the prices will increase based on what our contractors are telling us. So our contractors is saying we need to move forward. This project is going to take over a year. And if in the meantime, you know, some of the cost of supplies and materials change, great. But if they don't go down, you know, then, you know, we need to move forward. So I echo everything that Supervisor Dunning said. And again, the commitment is that we're going to continue to proceed on the building. We've already done the borrow on that, don't forget.
Thank you. Supervisor Stelches.
Thank you. Couple of things. I agree with Supervisor Pagonis. We don't have a crystal ball. However, I do think there's some possibility that costs could go down. Oddly enough, we have not seen any significant increase in timber sale unit prices at all, while the price of lumber itself has gone up. The price that people are paying for standing timber has not. That's kind of interesting. I'm not sure what that tells us. But on the flip side, instead of 32 million, it could be 40 million. We don't know. So I guess my question is this: why do we have to do this resolution now? We haven't even designed the building yet. Why don't we go ahead, proceed with the design, get bids out, and when the bids come back, if they exceed what we've already authorized, bring forward to this board, you know, the request to increase to, if we want to accept those bids. Because I see us setting a maximum now, and 90 days from now, we could be having to do the same thing. I don't know. My recommendation would be to just proceed with the design, you know, contractor firm bids, and then, you know, bring forward to the board a vote when we actually know some facts.
Thank you. Supervisor DeLuca, followed by Supervisor Dunning, followed by Supervisor Bates. Supervisor DeLuca.
Thank you. I noticed that there were thoughts about reductions in various areas, and I had just a question. Is the design allow us to build the building in more like a pod, different pods at different times? Or is it all one building?
Supervisor Dunning, you chair that committee.
There are several buildings on the property. However, if you don't build them all, you end up with the trucks stored in Altoona and the operations and the repairs at the new site. So then you have running back and forth with trucks. It would not be, the operations cost would go extremely high. So that even though you do have some option on that, it is not, it has to go as a whole thing. Commissioner Johnson is on the line also. Would it be helpful if he talked to us? Because they've had, you know, even though Supervisor Stelges said we go through the design is in the process. We have gone out and looked at quotes with the designs we've got, and these are the prices we get. And Market Johnson is telling us that we need to set the purchase orders soon, not wait. So, you know, our design is moving along as we go, and it's coming. And we may not know what color the walls are going to be painted, but we know what size the steel beams and stuff we'll need.
Director Johnson, without objection, do you have a comment?
Yeah, so to help answer Supervisor Stelges' comment, Market & Johnson has recently completed projects, and they're constantly analyzing current construction cost on projects. So the estimates they're providing us are very accurate. And our architect is actually just did groundbreaking in Barron County. So the costs that we have are accurate for increases compared to what was just budgeted 3 months ago. And to quote an email from Market and Johnson. This year, COVID has proven to be out of the normal. It's currently reported 8.3% for the year. The typical cost increase per year is 3% for labor and material. So based on what they're seeing, if we delayed the project, their cost impact to our facility would be between $500,000 to $1.1 million just for 6 months of delay would be the increase in cost based on the current trends. So, and the design has started already. We are in the process of finalizing the building envelope. The reason for that is that envelope has to be completed. The structure design has to be completed in order to get precast and steel for next year's construction. It has to be bled out to bid by September of this year in order to even receive that next year during the building timeframe.
Thank you for the clarification. We'll segue back to you, Supervisor Dunning. Were you done with your comment?
Yes, I am at the moment.
Thank you. I see no other hands raised. Oh, Supervisor Bates, sorry.
Mr. Chair, the other thing that needs to be taken into consideration is right now the interest rates on borrowing money are at a historic low. And for us to consider putting this off, especially that we've already borrowed, to put it off, certainly could be that we expose ourselves to a much higher interest rate. So I think that there's been all sorts of logical reasons why to move ahead with this particular project, including the fact that the current facility is inadequate, in need of repair, not able to house the equipment that we have, and the new facility would take care of other community needs. It just seems to me that it's not logical to put this off. We need to do it now, and we need to indeed meet that need. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisors Gibson, Dunning, and Stelches, would you lower your hands unless you were asking to speak again? Thank you. I see no other hands raised. I hear no other voices. Supervisors, we're going to proceed to vote on file 15, which at this point is a substitute amendment. Is it fair to say, Supervisor Pagonis, that this is an affirmation of our intent to move forward?
Yes. Correct. It's an affirmation of our intent to construct a highway facility. And I just will remind everyone, we've already borrowed $24 million to do it. So we're substantially there.
Good point. Thank you. Okay, we'll now proceed to a vote. Supervisors, please unmute. We are voting on file 15 as amended. All those in favor of file 15 as amended, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All those opposed by nay. The vote is unanimous. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the appointments. The chair has appointed the following persons, and these appointments have been confirmed by the Committee on Administration. So tonight, the chair looks for a motion to confirm from the County Board. So to the Aging and Disability Resource Center Board, Bruce Schaefer, a new citizen appointment. Sandy Romy, a new citizen appointment. To the Airport Commission, Peter Hoft, a reappointment, and Bill Hilgedick, a reappointment. To the Groundwater Advisory, Mary Kanosian, a reappointment. To the Nutrition Advisory Council, Kenneth King, reappointment. To Human Services, Lorraine Henning, reappointment. Paul Malucci, reappointment, and Jim Catman, reappointment. The chair looks for a motion to confirm.
Motion.
Schneider.
McKinney.
McKinney moves and Schneider seconds. Thank you. Any discussion, a question? All those in favor of the appointments of the confirmation of the appointments as listed, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All those opposed by nay. It is unanimous. Thank you. Supervisors, we have reached the end of our agenda. We are now adjourned.
Night.